guys? It's Dylan here. Today we'll be going over a ticker symbol analysis on the ticker symbol TSLA. Tesla. We have seen some insane movement to the downside, guys. You will not see this stuff very often in the stock market, but there has been a lot of bad news, a lot of friction, and we have seen that flush all the way back down, knifing through one, two, three, and four resistance markers, finally bouncing at this major level. With that being said, though, guys, we'll remain unbiased and calm throughout the entire video today. We'll look at a bunch of different data on different time frames and get actionable price prediction and levels moving forward to watch. Let's get straight into the video, guys. Alrighty, guys. Looking at the weekly chart, we've clearly seen some insane volatility. A lot of news coming in, a lot of factors that, you just can't predict. And so within these times, guys, when we've seen this, insane liquidity movements, we have to look at things a little bit more simple than we typically do, right? We got to narrow down the data points to the most major ones. As in these high volatility areas, support and resistance are a lot less, they work, of course, technical analysis always does, but it can get a little bit murky as far as where, because there's so much volatility, right? But the number one thing we're seeing, guys, is, when we built this nice range, bouncing at these major swing lows, which we originally started to cover Tesla because we thought there'd be some upside, you see in the move up, guys, and we got stuff in this resistance we mentioned, but it's clearly this big liquidity to the downside. And as far as a buyer, you'd want to see that 295 level hold, being that that was the breakout level of this about 8 to 9, 10-week consolidation in these major lows, guys. So as of now, on the weekly time frame, we definitely did drop below that 295, which isn't good as far as a short-term perspective, but we have seen this support zone step up, and this is the number one thing we're getting, guys. That rough 270 to 275 zone has been a pretty important marker point, guys, right? We consolidated in this range, getting the bullish engulfing. We got over that level, showing that there is a lot of buying pressure in the market before having 2 weeks of very patient consolidation, just really building that energy. So you see stock knife all the way down and wick out almost perfectly on that level, guys. It does not take a technical genius like myself. I tell you guys that, listen, keep an eye on that 270. If we break 270, it's pretty likely we move back to the 50% of this rough range, likely being around that 250 psychological level. Especially being these high fear moments, guys, these psychological levels do step up as, resistance support, even more than they typically do. So keep an eye on 250. If we do break 270 clean, there is a very good probability we move back down to that 250 zone. And then, of course, the bottom of the floor, guys, being that 213, 220 range. As of now, it is hard to say as far as a weekly perspective what will happen. We'll need to see a little bit more data for them. But as of now, guys, we knifed down all the way with a big liquidity downside movement facing at this key level. So very simple. Let's keep an eye on these lows. If they get swept, we should see 250, tests. And then if that fails, eventually that lower levels. That being said, guys, as far as the short-term analysis, you got to be bearish on Tesla. Just seeing the liquidity, guys. When you see a massive movement, this is showing that buyers are really in love with the stock and they want to be aggressive in these areas, right? Same with the inverse. You see a really nasty sell-off. We could see some, a little bit of a test in the waters, guys, but we need to see some nice bullish action curling up before we can, remain bullish. Despite being, still in theory, a lot of room to the upside, being that, we just balanced up these lows and we're heading up and then it got cut short. But due to all this volatility, guys, it does change a lot. So with that being said, guys, keep an eye on 295 resistance if we do get back up to there. And of course, that 270 important support zone, guys. On the daily time frame, guys, we did have a very nasty fake breakout into a sell-off, guys. And if there's anything that this chart can teach us as a technical analyst, is that did happen, guys. Right, we're basing at the top of this range. We've been talking about this for a long time. We had the bull flag, guys, descending into the breakout. Once again, another bull flag, getting that nice big wide bar, gapping up over it. This is everything you want to see, guys. Seeing that nice big wide bar, being strong, pressing out of this bull flag continuation. That's exactly what you want to see on the chart, guys. But when everything is in the bulls, the buyer's favors, everything is going well, and then it just completely reverses in this major resistance level, which previously was the breakout to this massive surge and the tight squeeze to this big downfall, right? Where stock price knifed down, around 40%. So this has been a very critical area in the past. And, we've been keeping an eye on that resistance, and that was what we mentioned when we did the update within this flag. And like we said, guys, it really showed the nice signs until it didn't. We started to see that rounding top form, pulled all the way back down to the bottom of the zone, being that very important support level. Bounced off it before showing a lot of weakness. Sellers immediately pushed it back down. Coming down with a weak candle to close right around that level. Of course, today, guys, we've seen that volatility. So once again, man, on the daily time frame, you see that massive wick at this prior consolidation level, which was the floor for this bull flag breakout we followed, guys. So, if you were to tell me a week ago, honestly, stock price would pull all the way down there, I'd say it's very, very unlikely. Very unlikely. And that's just how the stock market works sometimes, guys. When these news and these volatility moments step in, this is where experience comes in, right? This is where experience comes into play. So, with that being said, guys, we really have to let stock simmer because, of course, we've seen this super nasty, movement, guys. But we have seen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 red days in a row. Not to mention that stock price has knifed down, right, 25% in those days. So there's been so much selling pressure that you would expect maybe some sort of a bounce. I think that's pretty likely. We are dripping in the after hours, so it's a little bit more questionable. But typically after these super, super impulsive moves, guys, to the downside or to the up, it's pretty normal to see some sort of a hammer candle or buyers trying to step in saying, hey, this, the regression traders and whatnot, the Bollinger Bands, saying, hey, this is a little bit, overextended to the downside or underextended, whatever you want to say. So, we got to let stock sit at this level is where we're getting at. A little bit of a rant, guys, but we have to let stock sit here, form a few more days, and show what the buyers got at this level, guys. Because, of course, this came out of nowhere. We collapsed from this head and shoulders, and you've seen the downside, man. So, that being said, man, the daily converts right back to the weekly. We need to see what these candles do over the next few days, as this is a very important spot where really just a picture perfect, guys, bull trap. Stock was looking super good until it wasn't. Just got, 2 negative candles in a major level, and then things from there just completely flip sideways. So, on the daily, guys, it's hard to have a bias either side because we're so, drip to the downside. We could impulsively squeeze up. So, we remain bearish, just being that the sellers are super prevalent, of course. But that being said, guys, there could be an impulsive move up, some attempt from the buyer. So we'll remain more neutral to bearish on the daily, guys, but keep an eye on the bottom of the wick being that 270 rough level, once again confirming with that major support. Looking at the hourly time frame, guys, you do see that stock price did make a shoulder and a head right in this big resistance marker, setting that rounding top by crescendoing down and then collapsing the floor before bouncing at this big support level, the neckline of this head and shoulders, forming once again another shoulder, sinking down, consolidating right below that zone, starting to drip down in the end of the day, and then we gap down, guys. And the big sign for today that there's more downside to come is we squeezed exactly in that 322 level we've been watching on the channel, guys. We gapped right on that level. We dropped. Buyers, build up. They tried to buy up, and right in the zone, guys. When we break this ascending support, guys, all these buyers who are grinding up, completely liquidated out of their positions, and sellers took control, guys. So, number one thing we're seeing on the hourly, guys, is once again that red to green reversal, flipping back to the daily. The main thing we have to keep an eye. We have 7 red days in a row, a 25% retraction in 7 days. Right, it is typically unlikely that we'll just continue to knife down over the next 2-3 days and have some insane downside movement. It could happen, guys, but being that we did bounce in this, major support level, it does make sense that maybe we see a little bit of buyer's relief, right? Some essence of a bounce. It doesn't mean that we're, out of the woodwork as far as a buyer perspective. I imagine a lot of you guys watched the video, right? But yeah, we really just have to let stock simmer. If we see 1, 2, 3 candles holding a support level and, starting to get more data to form, there will be more to look at. But I really wanted to come on here, guys, and bring this to your attention. We're seeing 7 red candles in a row, a 25% retracement, massive selling pressure and volume to confirm that. So it's not looking good. But once again, guys, this is where experience comes in. Keep an eye on the floor, be in that 270, 275 zone. And the best case scenario for the bulls and the buyers, if we can reclaim 295 strong, that will look good for a short-term perspective. But seeing this massive liquidity in the market pushing to the downside with negative news and the overall market starting to turn over, I do think it is a pretty, realistic thing to say that we are bearish as of now. So not new news to you guys, but I hope you enjoyed the video. If you found any value, like, subscribe, all that. We'll go over Tesla a couple times a week. Depends how many times you guys want to see these videos. With that being said, guys, stay safe, trade smart, have a good day, take care, and peace.